Hello, welcome back. Today's fun adventure is to try and replace the impeller on the turbo, because I noticed on the service there was a little bit of oil in the end of the pipe, so rather be on the safe side because it's done 110,000 miles. I think that's the plan. So let me set the camera up and let's start taking bits apart so we can get to it. Take the cover off just to make it easier to get to the pipe, because I want to take the pipe off. Alright, let's get the cover off. That's it, yep. Let's take the hoses off. Easier said than done. Off for a while. Just take the hose off just to make things a little bit easier to get to. So I've got to take the heat shield off. I mean, might be able to get to it. Don't know yet. Remember right, the heat shield's in the bolt somewhere. There, I think. Okay, let's take that off. Let's take the pipe work out of the way. Okay, that's a bit more access. There's not actually a lot of room. It's a small hole of which you've got to get in there. Hold the nut on the other side. Eventually, that was a pain to get to. Okay, so I've taken the lower hose off. Now I don't know if you can see at all, but there's oil in there, so that was my concern. which obviously means the seal is starting to leak slightly. I've taken the vacuum pipe off. Might need to move the camera, maybe. And just going to take the actuator off just to get access, because I need to take the front of the turbo apart. And these are just 10mm nuts. There's one. That's that out of the way. Nuts over there. Right, so we've got a bit more access now. So you've got the oil feed pipe coming in, oil feed pipe coming out the bottom, and I guess that this is the clamp for the turbo there. Okay, let me have a quick look at that then. Right, it's not gone quite as planned. The idea is there's 4 bolts that go in here, hold these little brackets in. These brackets should hold this part of the turbo to the main housing. So I've managed to get 3 undone. The one right down the bottom I can't get to, which means I now have to take the turbo off, which I didn't really want to do. I do have the gasket for here, and I do have a new gasket for on there, but I was just trying to do it the easy way. But as you all know, Land Rovers don't make things easy. So let's get the exhaust off first, which is a 15. Now I'm hoping I can get in there. Oh, that's not too bad. It does surprise me. I was dreading this. I thought they were going to be sealed up. Okay, so basically I've got 3 to take off there, 3 to take off here as well, and I think these ones are 13 and these ones are 15. So I'll come back to that in a second. Right, all the bolts are off. So 3 on there, 3 on the bottom. So now I've released the oil return pipe off the bottom, which is just 2 8mm, the oil feed from the top, and obviously taken off the vacuum pipe and taken off the plunger on there. So in theory that should come off relatively straightforward. Okay, so the bit that I couldn't get to, this one here, so that one stopped me from taking it apart. So now we've got it out, I can basically take it apart, and the impeller's not too horrendous. There's the slightest bit of, I can feel it, the slightest bit of side play, which is not, is actually just touching the side of the casing, so that's a problem. So it's obviously worn, and the impellers have got a few little marks on it, but it's not horrendous. But it wasn't smoking or anything, but it's just I'm doing this so it doesn't blow up basically. Okay, so now I've just got to take this apart. There's a new oil seal, and I'm pretty sure it's a case of taking these off, taking that out. I guess I've got to take this one off to take that off, because the exhaust impeller is going to be in here. Oh yeah, you can just about see it in there, the exhaust impeller. It's a shame that I had to take it off, but okay, let's get it apart. Got a little bit of persuasion with the hammer, and you can see it's come apart. So there's the actual impeller itself. Hope you can see that okay. And I do believe there's actually got a bit more play. Yeah, no, I don't know if you can see that, but it is actually moving. I'd say about 1 millimeter. That's I think it was close to probably dying on me. So now I've got to see where the circlip is to take it apart. So once I've sussed out, I've got to take this half off. Unless it comes with that, I don't know. But we'll have a look and get back to it in a second. Right, it looks like it's going to be even easier than I expected. So this is a sealed unit completely. I know on previous vehicles, Peugeots, things like that, you've got a circlip and you take it all apart. This is a fixed unit. Now I bought a new impeller from Melee. It's a balanced unit. Let me take that out, it's quite oily. I mean, obviously if you want to just buy a new turbo, you can, but 160 quid as opposed to probably £600–700. So there's your nice new one. It comes with all this, so I haven't got to mess about at all. Oh no, play, that's beautiful. So that's just got to go back in, then connect everything back up the same way. New gaskets. I don't think I've got the new gasket for this. I might be wrong, but in which case I'll have to come back to it. But yeah, it all looks pretty much the same. Now I did do a similar thing. Let me put it back in the box. When I took the snail off, I actually marked it on the outer side. Now I've just realised my technical error here, because I'm changing the casing. So that's going to make life interesting. Normally there's a notch or a keyway, and there's nothing. So on this, basically you just see I did put a little notch there. So I guess you know, the worst case scenario is once it's roughly in place, it's only for connecting up the two hoses. So I can always just loosen it and swivel it in the housing before I do it up, but I've got a rough idea of where it's got to go. So this is going to be facing this basically, so it shouldn't be too bad. There's a new O-ring to go in there, and yeah, that's it. So that was facing so yeah, I'm surprised there's no keyway. That does seem a bit unusual, but you can see it's as simple as that. Yeah, so even though I've got my notch on there, that's a bit of an epic fail. No other way of doing it. Yeah, you can see from the marks where the screws were. So maybe what I should do is just do a little center line to there, just so I can see where it is. Okay, I'll be back in a second and I'll start putting it back together. Right, so reassembling, pretty straightforward. You've got an O-ring, goes around the edge of the new center housing unit. So all I've done, I did put a little line on there. It's pretty hard to see, and that's roughly in the center of there, just so I've got a rough guide. This at the end of the day is only for getting your pipe back in place. So my line, I can see it in the light, is there. So if I do that, just turn it until that's about the center of the hole. So yeah, that's about right. So that's close enough. And then it's a case of just putting the new, or not new, but the bolts back in around the edge to hold it. Did just give them a bit of a quick wipe. So these are just pretty small. But you can see it's pretty straightforward. Probably should have done all this first off camera, clean it all up. I did give the housing a bit of a clean. It was actually quite filthy inside with oil. So I do know that the turbo was definitely leaking quite a bit. And at the end of the day, if the pipe's not quite right, I can just loosen them and just turn it around a little bit to line up. But it's literally just going to be for the intercooler pipe. So it'll be pretty straightforward. Can't really go wrong on that. The main thing to get square putting this back together is obviously the oil feed pipe, the oil return pipe. You don't want to mess them up. And they've got copper washers in them anyway. I'll put that back in a sec so we don't get any dirt in there. And it's turning out a little bit better than I thought. The fact that the impeller is all in one unit is great. I was expecting to have to take circuits apart, and this is just excellent news, because if you've ever had to do one of those, you'll know what I'm about. You have to like pry the circlips out and then try and tap it out of the housing, and it's a complete ball ache. Mind you, what's not a ball ache on a Land Rover? Everything is. That's why we love them. So there's the 6 of those. Now these are not very tight at all. I haven't checked to see how many Newton meters, so I'm just going to do them finger tight first. Then what I've got to do is clean up the actual other half of the housing, because it was a little bit rusty, so I can get this new part into it without obviously damaging any of the impeller vanes. Feels pretty good. These are probably only around about 8 or 10 Newton meters, I would have thought. But yeah, that all feels pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get the housing, clean the inside of the housing up so it will slide over this properly, and then get them clamps back in on that side. Then the actual housing's ready to go back on, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, putting it back together, pretty similar. I did a similar sort of thing. I put the old housing back in, marked the center of the oil line, put a little scratch on it just to give me a rough idea. The pipes are sort of flexible-ish. One's got a stainless flexi braid, the bottom return pipe, and the top one's a flexi sort of banjo, so a discrepancy should be okay. But obviously a smart move to mark them before you take. If I'd realised, I thought it was going to be on a keyway or a notch, because normally that's how they are. And this is the clamp that holds it back in, and you can see it's in there and it does turn quite easily. I did clean the sort of faces up a little bit. I'll put that back where it was now. So yeah, roughly there. Put this clamp in. Probably just as well I did take the turbo off, because I think it would have been a bit of a nightmare getting it apart on the vehicle. But you know, we like a challenge. Keeps us busy, doesn't it? Okay. Put them back up. These were 10mm, I do believe. Just make sure it's not moved too far off. Yeah, that's pretty central. Okay, so you can see on these ones it let me get the spanner in, which I thought was going to be okay for doing the rest. No, needs to go down a bit more. Okay. And that is basically it. So, shiny new impeller. You can't really see it inside. What's in there? I did clean. I washed all the housing out. I mean, that's absolutely lovely now. No play on it. And just sort of roughly cleaned all the housing off. So it's just a case of putting it back together the same way. So I've got a new gasket for the manifold. I have got a gasket for the exhaust as well. And then it's just a case of getting the oil feed pipes back on, and should be good. So we'll do that in a minute. Okay, time to put it back together. So I've got new gasket for the exhaust. I've got a new gasket for the manifold, which is actually on here. And oh, that's always handy when the light falls over. It's all right. So just got to get that pipe over there. I think we need to get the exhaust in first, roughly like that. That's one. Okay, exhaust is in. Looking good. And let's get the nuts on the back of there. I'm going to check in and see if we talk settings on these. There's things on it. It looks like the body's right, but it's not turbo. Yeah, of course it would be. That's right. And manifold plastic on there. Okay, let's go on loose. That's all tight. There's 30 minutes. Okay, that's all pretty tight actually. So next I would have thought get the oil feed on and then put the vacuum back on afterwards. Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. I've put the oil feed pipe back on and the drain hose underneath, so the last thing to do was put the vacuum back on, and then there's this little clip, and the last thing you want to do is drop it because it's going to give you a bad hair day. And then literally just push that on there. That's in place. So that's the actuator. Then I've just got some nuts to go on there, which will be these. It's starting to look like it's all roughly in the right place, so that's a win. I've done the manifold and I've done the exhaust up now. Pretty straightforward. Okay, these 10mm, so they're probably going to be about 10-12 Newton meters. They're not very tight, that's probably enough. Okay, so the vacuum pipe, which is here, can go back on. There's that. There's the little clipperoonie. Can't see nothing. A bit further. Okay, vacuum pipe's back on. So it's basically back together. I do need to clean the oil out of the manifold, the intercooler pipes, before I put them back on. There's a pipe that goes on there and then onto there. I don't know what that's like in there. No, it's actually not too bad. So the most of the oil was in the U pipe that was down there and around the back of the actual impeller, and that's basically it. So I'll clean that off, I'll put the pipes back on, and I'll give it a start. Okay, everything's back together now apart from the sound deadening, which I'll put back in a minute. So I'm just gonna basically turn it on and hope there's no horrible noises, no smoke, no bangs, and I'd call that a win. So here's a quick view. So you can see everything's back on. There's all the new bits down there, and that's it. So let's go and turn it on, and hopefully it's all going to work. Oh, oil pressure's gone out. It's not making any horrible noises. So I would say that was a success. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that's useful. You know, if you've got problems with your turbo, you can save yourself a lot of money. Get yourself a centre housing unit, 150, 160 quid, depending where you get it from. Let's say I used the one from Merrill, and I think it was from Classic Land Rovers. And yeah, there you go. I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.